Hello, everyone. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you. Correct.
Okay, thank you, everyone, for joining on time. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining the meeting on time. We're expecting more people, and more people are still joining. Let's just give a minute or two. Let's give a minute or two to accept other people so that we can get the meeting started. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you. I see on the call we have Ayuba, we have Chinzi, we have Dorcas, we have Precious, and a whole lots of other people. Thank you for joining right on time. It's exciting to have you join this call today. Let's give just maybe 2 minutes more for other people to join. I see our facilitator is also here. Thank you for joining on time, dear facilitator. Okay, while we are waiting, please just take a moment to say hello to the chat. Let us know how you're feeling today and where you're joining the meeting from. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody, depending on where you're joining from. It's afternoon here in Nigeria. We don't know what time it is over there. So let us know where you're joining us and how you're feeling today. The chat box is open. I'll be going through to take some messages. Thank you. Okay, the messages are coming in. We have Uburu Ubuche from Kenya. We have Dorcas from Nigeria. The Beta Journey from Cameroon. Thank you. We have Kilonzo from Kenya. Thank you so much for joining us on this call today. Good afternoon. Micah Bello is joining all the way from Borno State, Nigeria. Thank you, Micah. And we have Leke. Leke is joining us from South Sudan. South Sudan is represented in the building. Thank you, Afolabi, joining from Lagos, Nigeria. Joshua joining from Nigeria. Thank you, everyone. Please let's know where you're joining us from and how you're feeling this afternoon or morning, depending on your time. Okay, without wasting much of our time, I think it would be good we just kickstart so that we don't delay you further for being here on time. Okay, I see more messages coming in the chat box. We have John joining us from Uganda, and then Ayobami joining from Abuja, Nigeria. If you're just joining us, please let us know how you're feeling and as well as the location you're joining this call from. Idrisu is joining from Ghana. Thank you, Idrisu. Hope you're doing fine. Okay. So this is the outline of our session today. In this session, of course, we're going to have the welcome remarks. After that, we'll take the pause and icebreaker, and then we'll get to know or meet our facilitator. And then afterward, I'll hand over the mic to our facilitator, and He will walk us through what the session is all about, share his experience, and the step we can take to, kickstart our journey into monitoring evaluation. After that, he will entertain question and answers from participants, and also other male, professionals who are in the house will also support during that segment to answer some of the questions that will be coming through. And then we'll go to the closer and next step. So please, I again want to say thank you for joining this call, and I beg that you stay to the end. There are a whole lot of things to learn today. So please don't be in a hurry to leave the call. Thank you. If at any point you can't hear me, please let me know. And you can as well drop a message in the chat box. So without waste of time, today we'll be talking about data. So let's have this our icebreaker for today. M&E basically is about data, either qualitative or quantitative. So who made this statement? It's a common statement. I'm sure most of us have come across. So let's see in the chat box your responses to this question. Who made this statement? In God we trust. All others must bring data. Who made this statement? I'll be looking through the chat box now to see the responses that are coming through. Again, I want to welcome everybody on the call. I have Deborah Udunaya, we have Ayubami, we have Chidima, Chinzi, another Chidima again, we have Cynthia, we have Alberta, we have Dorcas, Idrisu, John, Khadija, Uzani. Sorry if I didn't call that well. We have Carlo, Leke, Joseph, Ugu, and a whole lot of many people. We have Micah Bello, we have Ifeanyi John in the call, we have Buru Uche, Precious, and Binzi. Please, if you're just joining us, introduce yourself in the chat box. Let us know where you're joining us from and how you're feeling this evening. Okay, I see a lot of responses coming to the trivia now. Precious say Edwin Deming. Okay, Chinzi joining us from Zambia. Thank you all the way from Zambia, Chinzi. We're happy to have you. So yeah, without waste of time, we have a lot of things to do today. So the response to that question is, of course, Edward Demi. He was the person that made the statement that in God we trust, but every other person must have data to substantiate every argument or any assertion they are making. Let's move now. So today, who is going to be our facilitator today? I'm sure for those of you that are part of the group, you've known him. But this is the bio of our facilitator. His name is Joshua. And Joshua has over 10 years of active program management experience with over 8 years in monitoring evaluation, accountability, and learning. He has led and set up several monitoring evaluation systems and facilitated the design and implementation of result-based model for project interventions. He has designed, deployed, collected and analyzed several project data and has trained and worked with several teams of varying sizes on-site and remotely. He holds a master's degree in agricultural extension and rural development from the prestigious University of Ibadan. He's an expert in data management using different tools such as Excel, Kobo Collect, Smartsheet, SPSS, Access, SharePoint, Power BI. Please, let's keep the applause coming. He deserves applause for this kind of, rich biography. Power BI, ODK, Comcare, Survey Summers, Tangerine, Google Form, Tableau, Maxdal, Infogram. Please, let's give him, virtual ovation for this kind of profile. He deserves, your commendation. Infogram, GIS, NVivo, R, that team, CS Pro, Starter, SAS, Python, FastField, SQL, eView, DHIS2, Atlas. He leads and coordinates training with field enumerators from mid-size to large size. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our facilitator for today. Let's give him virtual ovation in the chat box. Let's welcome him. Let's welcome him, please. Our facilitator, if you can hear me, please, over to you now. You can unmute and then have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, good evening, I think I'm also tempted to say good night, wherever you're joining us from. I'm glad to be here, and I want to say a big thank you to Godwin for putting this together and for all the efforts, to make sure that people have the opportunity to grow in monitoring and evaluation. I want to say a big thank you to everyone in this meeting. I see the introductions are still ongoing. People are joining in for different parts of Africa. I just want to say thank you so much. The person joining from South Sudan, thank you. I see Zambia, Ghana, Uganda. From anywhere you're joining us, Kenya, of course, thank you so much. Just in case you're just joining us, please feel free to just tell us your name and where you're joining us from on the chat box. I would love to share my screen now, if you don't mind, Godwin, so that I can just put something on the slide, on the screen for all to see. It's just going to cover what I intend to talk about. Thank you so much. So yes, we're talking about the conversation today is quite a simple one. Let me just put this up. Okay, I believe this is legible enough. Can we all see the screen? Maybe with a reaction now, just a reaction, it will be okay. I will know that we are together. So can I proceed? Okay, great. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. So what I'm just going to speak on today is just going to be, I think, maybe these 4 or 5 key areas. I'm going to share my story. And then, of course, I'll talk about the relevant skills needed needed to be a monitoring and evaluation officer or associate, as the case may be, wherever you find yourself. I'm also going to talk about the consultants and the project staff. Don't worry, when we get to that point, I will explain better. Maybe for lack of how to best caption this, I decide to use consultants versus project staff, just to look at the 2 different the positions and how unique they are, and of course the trajectory that exists between the 2 of them in terms of learning opportunities, the curve, and all that comes with it, and then how to grow in M&E. So I intend to just share a little tip of how to grow in M&E, and then opportunities and challenges. Okay, so let me start with my story first. As you must have seen, my name is Joshua. My name is Joshua Arunyu. I'm a male specialist. I am an evaluation associate with Clones House, Nigeria. I also consult work as a subject matter specialist and a technical consultant with the International Budget Partnership. I support the work of organizations to strengthen their learning systems. I also help to set up strong learning systems for organizations, especially as they deliver and implement projects or programs. And then I also engage in a lot of capacity building. Yeah, as I begin to tell you my story, I saw the we made at a particular point in time about how he joined in, found himself in M&E, and I think he said it was at a very down time of his life. I think I can relate to that. I can relate to that because I was also, it was actually a time in my life where I was just asking myself, what next? What should I do next? Because I consider myself as someone who is, how do I describe it? Is it gifted or smart? So in other words, whatever I commit my mind to do, once I decide to learn it, I will learn it and I will do well in it. So I was asking myself, I have a lot of potentials. I see myself like good in many things. Anytime I do trainings, people say, oh, you're a good teacher. Anytime I sing, people say, wow, I didn't know you can sing. Anytime I play the instrument, somebody say, wow, you're good on the keyboard. Those kind of things, I get those responses a lot. And so I was asking myself, what do I really want to do? Because I can't be jack of all trades. Meanwhile, during this period, I've been working as program officers in programs, implementing projects, especially in Nigeria. I started off in the health space. the University of Baltimore, University of Maryland, Baltimore. They have a public health, some sort of a public health department doing HIV and hepatitis B and C work in Nigeria. So I'm part of that team. That's where I started off. Meanwhile, before this time, I'd worked with a local organization called Nigerian Reads, where I support the education of children in remote communities, rural communities, and ensuring that we help set up community libraries for them, providing them with learning materials, books, and all those kind of stuff. And then the idea of the community library led us to set up more community libraries. So we started setting up community libraries within communities and encouraging children in those communities to go to the library, access these books for free, and spend time to read. So it's more like promoting reading culture, promoting literacy. So that was the job I started doing. It was in 2013. And then, of course, gradually I was now engaged in some other projects. So that's pretty much it. So how I started was in M&E now was that, many of the times while implementing projects, most times, as usually is the case when calls for proposals, are done, there is always an M&E component in the program design, so to call it. And so many of the times while you're implementing programs, you have to, you are doing certain things and it is part of the M&E process, but you're not necessarily sure why. Yours is just to go to community, and that when you're going to a community, a rural community, you need to go with an attendance sheet, you need to go with, you need to take pictures, you need to speak with members of communities to hear from them. So maybe you do a voice pop. We know also that many of the times we need to speak with the traditional rulers, especially, this is Nigeria, and it's in Africa, you have traditional rulers, you need to speak with them, some sort of community engagement. But we didn't necessarily know why all those things were important. And so when we come back, we just retire all those information and then submit them to somebody like that. So that's how I just knew that, this work entails this. So before we go to any field work, we know these things are very important and we need to get them. I saw it as part of the process. I didn't necessarily think that, this is maybe like a field on its own or something in itself. Not until I grew the ranks, and at a point in time, I was now writing, fundraising for an organization, part of the fundraising team, where I now see that, there's actually a section, especially when you're, applying for grants, there are sections, M&E framework. So what I just did was to just, the simple logic framework, just learn, objectives, activities, outputs, outcomes, just those simple stuff, and, learn how to use them. And then I started the process. So most times in grant writing, sometimes if there are things that are beyond my understanding, I just, pass it on to some colleagues. They will also help make their input, That's how it was for me. So I've been engaging and doing that. When it comes to the monitoring and evaluation component, we just get 1 or 2 staff to join that are part of the team, to work on that. But as time went on, attention started moving towards that area. What is really in this area? You as a program, by this time I was already a program manager. So let's pay more attention to this M&E component, because we also know that it was part of the as part of the grant making process. We need to show strong understanding of the M&E concepts and all. So at this time, I decided to pay more attention, and that is how it started. Then following up after that, I think, thankfully, I had a friend. So by this time, I'd had the interest. I was willing to now begin to probe into this area. But then I had a friend, which I must give credit to. His name is Olusegun. I think in the M&E world, many people know him as Pomo. He's the guy that I think was very strategic, because I don't take those relationships for granted. He was the one that, like, Josh, I think there is something in this area for you. Come. There is this opportunity to intern with an organization. The name of the organization is Clones House. Come and intern and just see how this thing is for you. And so I applied, and thankfully, of course, I was selected, and that was how the real journey actually started. And so that's pretty. I wouldn't say I was like I deliberately wanted to be an M&E specialist. No, not so. I found myself in an environment that required M&E, and I was curious about it. And then thankfully an opportunity presented itself for me to learn. And so I learned, and then I started improving myself in it. So that's pretty much my story, how I joined I found myself in the M&E space. Now, looking back, I can say for a fact that it's been a wonderful journey. For different people, there are different motivations for coming into monitoring and evaluation. Everybody have their own peculiar stories. Some people consider themselves an accidental evaluator. Some people, perhaps they see a job, they just think that they possess the necessary skills, and then they jump into it, and somehow they think they actually fit in. While for some others, it's actually a deliberate process. Irrespective of that, I think that everybody has his unique way. You are unique in your own sphere. And at the same time, our experience is actually part of the things that shapes us. It shapes us, it shapes our personalities. And so most of the stories we tell are usually born out of our experiences. Just like Godwin, who is organizing this, for instance, the motivation was that while he joined, came into the M&E space, he didn't have, mentorship. He didn't have mentors. There was nobody he could really, fall back on for guidance, for assistance. And so he's trying to bridge that gap. So, everybody has his unique story and unique experiences, and all these things come together to shape our personalities and the work that we do. So, irrespective of what your story might be, there are just a few relevant skills that I want to share with everybody. What I've learned so far, and then things that I think are very necessary. So for you, to thrive in the M&E space, there are certain skills that I think is necessary. Most of them are soft skills, while a few of them are technical skills. The first is that I think that you have to be somebody that pays attention to detail. Now, this is me speaking from my personal experience, I know you might find resources online, what should you do, but this is my own personal experience. You must be somebody that pays attention to details, especially if you are from my own side of the evaluation, spectrum, if you want to call it, which I'm going to explain shortly. And attention to detail comes in, it comes in different forms. You want to get the information about the project, especially if you're coming into a project that you're not part of the project design and all. You just you're just brought in to, provide, support to strengthen the learning system, or to, to conduct monitoring and evaluation of the project. You need to pay attention to details. You need to know your project very well. And then, of course, you need to have communication skills. Before I move into communication skills, attention to details is necessary because there are certain things, especially as to how you want to measure results. The commissioner, as it were, or the donor, if you're working in a project, have what they see results as. And then you need to ask yourself, how do we measure these results? And so there are certain details that you need to pay attention to, so that you can know, you have an idea of how to measure these results, how to, record these results, and how to extract the data that will back up the evidences, or that will justify the evidences that you are seeing, or the results that you are seeing. The next thing, like I was saying, is communication. I think it's also necessary for you to be a good communicator, to have good communication skills. Many of the times as an evaluator, or conducting monitoring and evaluation, there are instances where you need to do capacity building. You need to train people, especially data collectors and enumerators. There are instances where you need to also speak with people, especially in collecting data. When you are talking to stakeholders, you need to have a very good communication skill. You need to be able to express yourself, to communicate the intent of your project, in a clear and understandable manner. You need to know how to make people feel confident, because many of the times when they see evaluators, a lot of people think that, these people have come to checkmate us. They've come to look at our work or spy at our work and look for faults. That there's usually that impression about what evaluators are, but that's not it. It's how you communicate those things to these people that will give them whatever impression that they have. The other side of it is the problem-solving skills. I think monitoring and evaluation right now has gone to a point where it's more critical thinking, which is also part of it. You need to think, especially when you're thinking about indicators. How do I get these indicators? What are these indicators? How do I extract indicators, from this project? And what will be these indicators? And what will be the means of verifying, these results, as the case may be? All these things requires problem-solving skills, and so you need to know how to. You need to have that ability. You need to train yourself in problem-solving skills. And I think the first step in that regard, using the little examples I've used, is first for you to understand some concepts, because I think that's one of the areas where I'm part of it anyways, as young and emerging evaluators. That's where we have that challenge, because we seem not to really understand those concepts, very well. And if you have that understanding of those concepts, I'm talking about the evaluation concepts, it will help you to know how best to solve the problem that you want to solve. And of course, because M&E is actually quite, broad, in the sense that, you're doing evaluation in almost every field, or if not every field. So you're thinking about, agriculture, livelihood, job creation. You're thinking about it in health, how it is applied in health, how it is applied in conflict situation, intervention programs, or how it is addressed, how it is deployed in humanitarian setting, or how it is, conducted in public policy. So it's quite broad, and, it's one of the reasons why it requires a problem-solving, thinking, problem-solving cap. You have to have strong interpersonal skills. It's also very important, because your ability to relate to people is important. And that's one of the reasons why I love monitoring and evaluation, because it gives me the opportunity to interact with people. It gives me the opportunity to speak face-to-face or virtually, to have that personal connection with people. You must have seen somewhere, I can communicate in French, I can communicate in Portuguese, I understand basic Spanish, and in Nigeria, the three major languages, Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, I understand those languages. So it's just you. I'm not saying you should go and learn languages, but I'm just using my own example, of how I am, I'm building my interpersonal relationship and interpersonal skills. And one of my tactics is to learn a language. So when I'm in the community, I want to learn how they say certain things, so that I'm able to, I'm at home with them, and they feel at home with me. If you remember the famous statement of Nelson Mandela, he said, when you speak to somebody in a language he understands, it goes to his head. But when you speak to the person in his mother tongue, it goes to his heart. And so that's my strategy. I know that even Godwin, that is on this call, I can actually see one or two things in his native language. So it's just my way of, building interpersonal relationships. So you too, you have to have that interpersonal skill to be able to connect with people, to be able to, that way you're able to build, a connection with them. And whenever you want to, have those, perhaps you're on the field, you need to get data, you need to carry out any task, it's easier for you and it's necessary. Presentation and facilitation skills is also important. The reason is because many of the times you want to be communicating with donors in terms of results. Remember, that's the reason why you are there, to communicate results, to show learnings, what is happening. And so sometimes you may be called upon to make presentations of findings, from your evaluation. And so you need to have presentation skills, good presentation skills. I think that is also necessary. And then you also need creativity. You have to be creative. Creativity in the sense that, many of the times if you are a consultant evaluator, maybe an independent evaluator, many of the times you're coming to evaluate a program that is already either running in midterm or at end term. It's about to is about to come to an end, and so you're coming as an independent person, and then maybe you looked at it and you're asking yourself, how do I evaluate this program? Sometimes also that some programs could be more, you may require a multi-system approach to address those issues, or to evaluate effectively those programs. So you also have to be creative. It's not as rigid. You don't have to be rigid. You just have to be creative. You think of, okay, how are we flexible enough to accommodate this, and at the same time deploy this method? And an example was one evaluation I did not too long ago for the Alliance for Medical Action, ALIMA. We were to do a capitalization study for a training that was done for healthcare providers on severe acute malnutrition. And this was in Borno State, northeast Nigeria, for those that are resident in Nigeria. And so when we started the project, we thought, okay, our approach was going to be, we're just going to use a SWOT analysis to just look at it. What are the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats? But while we were on the field and we, saw the way the program was conducted, the training was conducted for these health professionals, we saw that they were trained not to just have the knowledge, but to improve the care for severe acute malnutrition. We had to make adjustments, and the adjustment had to be, okay, we have what other technique do we do to not just give a SWOT analysis, but to also give another view of this training. And so we had to come up with we had to introduce another methodology into it. I think what we did was a Kirkpatrick model, deploy that model to assess the capacity of the healthcare professionals in relation to the training they've received, and how it has, the intervention has helped in the treatment of severe acute malnutrition. So that's just being creative. And what I'm just trying to say with this is that we didn't plan this before going to the field. It was on getting to the field and what we saw on the field that necessitated us to make adjustments. So we now added another component into it, because we felt it was going to enrich the study and give it, give it a better outlook and give a true picture of, what that capacity building session had done. So just to mention that, you have to be creative and flexible in your approach. Lastly, I think as an evaluator, it's good for you to know how to use certain softwares. This is where the technical part of it comes in. Yes, Excel is usually a point of call. Everybody that wants to learn, you have to start with Excel, because you'll be doing a lot of analysis of data. So yes, Excel is there. You need to know how to use, to analyze data. At least just have a hang on how to use some of these tools. Of course, know how to use one for quantitative, and know how to use another for should you want to do a qualitative analysis. So maybe Atlas TIs, Enrivo, as the case may be. You want to for quantitative, you want to make use of maybe SPSS, Stata, R, especially if you are going, you need to do some in-depth analysis. So it depends on, of course, the evaluation you're trying to do will determine what tool you are going to use. So I will recommend that you arm yourself with a tool, have one or two, maybe one on the qualitative, one from the quantitative, that you can use to analyze your data. So that way, whenever you are to make analysis, you know that you have competence in the use of one tool for qualitative, one tool for quantitative. The idea is that, there are, of course, multiple tools, and of course, deployment of questionnaires also. So it depends if it's SurveyMonkey, it is Kobo Collect. Whatever it is, if it is Google Form, you can even learn how to use Google Form as as your data collection tool, and how to deploy it. These tools are necessary. Like I'm suggesting you to start with one data collection tool, one data analysis, quantitative analysis, one for qualitative analysis. So that you have, so that from there you can now move to other tools, as they begin to present itself. So these are the relevant skills I think you will need, as you journey in monitoring and evaluation. The next thing I want to talk about is consultant and project staff. And this is what I mean. There are some people, like in my own case, when I came into M&E, I was, I started, the little bits of M&E as a project staff. So I'm employed in an organization, but I'm working in the M&E department. Whereas for some other persons, as in the case with the organization that I work with, which is Close House Nigeria, mostly they do independent evaluation, so third-party monitoring, and those kind of things. So most times there is an RFP, they respond to those RFPs, and they are hired as the independent consultants to independent evaluators to come and evaluate a program by a commissioner. Commissioner in this sense is the person who is, who is conducting the evaluation. So most of the times we work with development partners, we work with FCDO, USAID, GIZ, JICA, and the rest of them. Those development partners are the partners we work with. So how evaluation is for us is a bit different. The outlook for evaluation for consultants is a bit different from the outlook of evaluation to project staff, right? And that's why I wanted to bring this. So you choose, you know which one you think you want, the both of them, there's no one above the other. The only difference is that most of the times for you to grow to become a consultant, right, you need to also have, pass through that project staff, that you are employed in an organization in the M&E department, strengthening the learning systems, setting up M&E frameworks, as the case may be, to, collect data, analyze data, and to guide the implementation of the project, in the case of monitoring, how to, to evaluate results, the intended results of the program in the case of evaluation. So it doesn't matter, whichever place you find yourself is also good. But in my own case, I came in more, in an organization that does independent evaluation. And so most times we are consultants with, technical partners, development partners, supporting and, evaluating their programs. So the outlook is a bit different because you are working based on the term of reference given to you. So this is where the difference comes in. So you will choose which works for you. So as an independent consultant, you are working based on the term of reference given to you. So most times there is a term of reference. This is what we want to achieve. These are the results. This is what we want you to do for us. And then you come up with a methodology that will best capture, the result or deliver on that result for the commissioner. And then, of course, you go to the field, you deploy, and then you evaluate and you present your findings. That is a different ball game from those who are working as staff of an organization, because those working as staff of an organization is that they are already staff of an organization. They are working within the organization. The organization sometimes involves them in the writing of grant applications or fundraising, grant applications where they have to set up the M&E system. Sometimes they have to set up an M&E system from the scratch, right? To help the organization deliver results, based on the objective of the project. So there is a bit different, but of course, is by and large, is achieving the same thing. So whichever way you find yourself, so you want to ask yourself, which do you want to belong? Where do you want to be? If you want to be an independent consultant, most of the times there are individuals who are independent consultants, and there are organizations or institutions that work as independent evaluators, right? So you might want to decide to pitch your tent with an organization so that you can learn from those consultants, the consultants, that are working in that institution, learn from them. The beauty of it is that for the consultants, right, the institutional or the independent consultants or independent evaluators, the beauty is that many of the times, since they're just responding to RFPs and, applying to or bidding for evaluation opportunities as it presents itself, many of the times they get to be multi, how do I describe it? Is it multi-dimensional? So, for instance, they get to, you see somebody has done a work and evaluation around health, he has done an evaluation around this area, that area. So it makes him, he has a different outlook. So he can do this, he can do that, he can do that. Of course, most times within an ecosystem. Let me also mention that within an ecosystem. So, for instance, let's say within education, you discover that person has experience evaluating, children in emergency, conflict areas, social inclusion programs, because it is within that, that ecosystem. So it gives you a bigger, as it were, a broader outlook. Meanwhile, that of project staff is usually based on the mandate of that organization, the mission and vision, what is driving that organization. So if you're working in an NGO that is focused around maternal health care, of course, you know that everything you're going to do around M&E will be centered around maternal health care. If it's going to be around education, it's going to just be strictly on that area of education where the organization is focused on. So these are two different, I call it wings that you want to look at. No one supersedes the other. I must be clear. No one is preferred to the other. For me, I've been working, with an institution that provides independent evaluation. And so most of the time, we just work based as the need arises, as we engage with our partners, and we do that independent evaluation. It has its highs, it has its lows, but for me, between that of an independent evaluator and a project staff working in an organization as an M&E officer, I don't think there's any issue. I mean, they are basically the same thing. You can actually be a project staff of an organization and support an independent evaluation elsewhere if the opportunity presents itself. I just hope I've been able to give clarity in that regard. Now to the meat of this conversation, how to grow in M&E. How do you grow as an evaluator? How do you grow? It's an interesting question, but I want to say that there is no one cap that fits all, right? I won't say that there is a strict rule that you must follow. But what I'm just going to do is to give guidance, right? What are the best approaches I think you should take if you want to grow. I think the first thing starts from mentorship. And that's, of course, the core purpose why, Godwin has set up this platform. Mentorship, I think mentorship is very important. Thankfully, I have a boss. I call him my boss. He has actually provided that wing for me. And I think Godwin can actually relate to this because he was also a part of that process. So he had a taste, of that kind of guidance. So I have somebody that I look up to in terms of monitoring and evaluation who is providing that coaching platform for me. His name is Oludotun Babayemi. He is actually the lead consultant at Clones House Nigeria. So he is that kind of person that anytime I have any challenge, I run to him and say, hey, what do you think? What do you think? And then he provides that, that guidance. And so mentorship, we cannot overemphasize mentorship. Why mentorship? Mentorship is important for, I think, 3 cardinal reasons. So that one, we have the opportunity to be guided, in the work that we do. Guidance is important because when you're properly guided, you will not fall into you will not make the mistakes that your mentor has made. You will not you will not make silly mistakes, as it were. You are learning. You have somebody to learn from. The other side of it is also the tutorship, because while guidance is to help you not to fall into mistakes, you see, the mentor also provides that opportunity for you to learn. Is the tutorship that comes with it. And I think it is very important. M&E there are a lot of new things happening in the M&E space, right? How M&E is practiced in Africa, there are a lot of things that we need to, we're trying to ensure that we begin to see happen in Africa, especially as it comes to, as it touches M&E. So there are a lot of things that you need a mentor for, to that tutorship. New approaches are being developed to evaluate certain scenarios. new templates, new modalities are coming, new methodologies are coming in. We're seeing a lot of things, coming in the M&A space, and it's good for you to be up to date. So first, mentorship is going to do that. And lastly, I think also that there's usually that point in time when you need a mentor to help you in terms of how your trajectory is going to look like. So somebody that's going to say, I think you're actually good in this area, and so I think you should focus more in this area. When I do capacity building, I actually enjoy doing capacity building, because training, facilitation, I feel good with it. So sometimes I ask myself, is this really my area? Maybe you can be in doubt. Is this really my area? Should I focus more on trainings, M&E trainings, and working with enumerators, training them and deploying tools? Or am I just good at the analytical side? So like just focus on the data collection process, analyzing data and all that, interpreting data, or should I just focus on, the presentation aspect of things in terms of, results, visualizing results, storytelling and all that. So you need a mentor also to, point your strengths to you, to identify those your strengths and weaknesses, and to help guide you and shape you, for your future. Because many of the times, one of the challenges that many evaluators face, especially those that are independent evaluators, is that of sustainability. You as an independent, consultant, you've worked on this project and the project is over. What next? So that's why mentorship is also important. So I think mentorship is key. And then you want to ask yourself, how do I get a mentor? Wow, there are lots of ways you get mentorship. I think this platform is a mentorship platform. I want to believe, except you don't see it that way. Of course, you want to have somebody, you want to identify with somebody that you want to learn and grow under. You can look up people with M&E experiences on LinkedIn. You can search them. Just look at people who are within the sphere, working around the area, the thematic area where your interest lies, and then and see how you can learn. You can also submit yourself to institutions, like. Apologies, not that I'm trying to promote the, but Clones House Nigeria also provides that platform. So there are institutions where you can just come under, and then they have league of people who can teach you and build you up. The other side of it is to put yourself into committee of practice, which can provide that that cover for you, which I think is the next thing you should do. Or one of the things you should consider doing to grow in the M&E space. Join community of practice. The truth is that we cannot overemphasize this, because it is within those community of practice that you're going to learn recent, developments happening in the M&E space, what is going on, what is new, what methodology is in vogue, maybe to evaluate certain things, which one is no longer considered useful or valid, those kind of things. And of course, those community of practice provides those opportunity also for you to, because they conduct regular training, so they bring you up to speed with, and sharpen your skills in what you think in monitoring and evaluation. So when I say community of practice, I'm talking about being surrounded with a group of persons who are already working in evaluation. And they exist in form of association. There's an association called AFRIA, the African Evaluation Association. You can join. Many countries also have this evaluation association. I want to recommend that you join. I am currently, there's this community of practice in South Africa that I'm a member of, one in the UK, but that in the UK is more for the NHS, but they do a lot of regular trainings that I'm also a part of, and I learned a lot of things, especially things that are relevant to the work that I do. Of course, the community of practice of Clones House Nigeria is also there, provided that if you're in Nigeria, you want to join the Nigerian Evaluation Association. So those kind of environments, because regular trainings are made, and it also gives you that opportunity to learn. And it's also an opportunity for you to network, because you are able to meet people, you're able to know people who are working, know people who have experience working XYZ area, thematic area, who are specialists in that area, and then you also want to meet with them, to team up with them, to work alongside with them. Another area, like I said, community of practice, you want to consider young and emerging evaluators. So in evaluation, we have what is called the YEE, Young and Emerging Evaluators. We have one in Nigeria. You can join any of them. I remember one of those days I was looking for, I just was searching through some persons I wanted to learn M&E from. And that is how I attended an evaluation seminar of some sort, and then I saw a presentation of someone, and I was like, wow, I like the presentation, I like this thing, and I wanted to learn more. And then I reached out to the person via LinkedIn. I said, I joined SUSO program and I'd like to learn more from you. And then I noticed that the person is actually Brazilian, and of course I can speak Portuguese. So I said, and I can even speak in your language. If you don't mind, we can have a chat and speak in your language. And boom, that was how we had I think a 45 minutes Portuguese session. We spoke in Portuguese, and guess what? I didn't actually know that I was speaking to the head of the Young and Emerging Evaluators for Brazil, the director of that organization. And so I was made to be a member. I joined the WhatsApp platform. And so I also, while in the WhatsApp platform, you get a lot of news in terms of call for papers, you get a lot of news in terms of trainings, training opportunities that exist and all that. So that was because I decided to network, to speak, this is like, to show camaraderie, this is my colleague in the evaluation space. I'd like to know what you're doing and all that. And then I also spoke with somebody from Argentina, a very good friend of mine also. It was just similar experience. Education, I think she does evaluation in educational systems like that. And then I had a chat with her, and of course, we rubbed minds, we exchanged ideas. I think we can do it this way, we can do it this way. So that's why that community of practice is necessary. It provides the opportunity for you to network. It provides the opportunity for you to learn. It provides the opportunity for you to have that hand-holding if you need it, even as you journey in M&E. Okay, and of course, you may need to volunteer, right? And that is if you are looking at, coming in as project staff, in the M&E department of, non-profit organization, as the case may be. You also you may want to consider volunteering. You want to consider interning, working as an intern. Please, where those opportunities present itself, please take advantage of those opportunities. Learn, because those internship opportunities, those volunteering opportunities will give you the opportunity to learn, will give you an opportunity for you to get to the field. It will give you the opportunity for you to see things. Sometimes there is not all the case where theory meets with practice, right? Many of the times you propose in your heart, this is what we are going to do, and we believe it will work. But when you get to the field, the cultural context is different, the religious context is different, everything is different, and then you need to make adjustments. So many of the times the field experience gives you a different feel, from theory. So that's why you need to intern. If you have the opportunities to intern, please intern. If you have time, you can decide to intern for free, maybe 2 months, 3 months, as the case may be. The most important thing is that you want to learn. There's something that is bringing you into the organization, and that is because you want to learn how these things work. And then, of course, you get handy with tools, how to use tools, how to deploy those tools, and as the case may be. So I would say, if you have the opportunity to work as an intern or to volunteer with any nonprofit organization working in the thematic area of your interest, please, by all means, feel free to do so. Another way to grow is to perhaps read. I don't want to say perhaps. You have to read. Read. How many evaluation reports have you read? You see, there's a launch of a report, an evaluation report that was conducted by so group of persons or so person on the thematic area that you're interested in. Did you take out time to download that report and read through? Because many of the times, once you read reports, such kind of reports, of course, it will give, it has the executive summary, so it gives you a quick view of what the project is all about, what methodology was deployed, and what the results are, right? From the evaluation, from the executive summary, it gives you, heads up. And then most of the times what I do is that when I look at those evaluation reports, I'm interested in what the project is all about, what methodology was used for this. That's my interest. The result, I'm not necessarily interested in the result, because the result is, it's fine. I am interested in what the project is all about and what methodology was used to, because I know that I may find myself in situations similar to that where I now have to think of, I may be presented in similar project and I have to think of what methodology. I'll remember, this methodology, it worked. Many of the times, even if I go through the result, I see the result, I skim through the result, okay, it gives me an idea what that methodology can do, the merit and demerit of that methodology. I can now say, okay, while this will work, I may need to tweak this methodology a bit. Okay, so make it mixed method. This other person deployed the tool, but he did a combined focus group discussion. Combined means that he incorporated male and female together. But in the cultural context where I want to work, if I mix male and female together, the female will not talk because of the cultural peculiarity. So I may need to separate the FGD and do a separate FGD for male and a separate FGD for female. Is the learning you learn from just reading, an evaluation report. So please, if you find any evaluation report that is an interesting topic area, that you see that is an area that you like and you're already working in, please, just take out time, read through, understand the nuance, understand the methodology, the approach that was used. Look at the evaluation questions. How was the evaluation question answered? You may want to critique it internally to say, okay, if I were the one, would I have used this method? Will I have used another method? That's how to grow, right? That's how to grow. You want to think that way. So if you see evaluation report next time, please don't just let it pass. Just take a look at the methodology and see what you can learn from that methodology. Interestingly, Closehouse Nigeria also has some materials in this regard. I think you can also look it up. CVs, you may want to think about doing a good CV, because if you want to get a job in the M&E space, you also need CV. So please, if you need to polish your CV up, please, by all means, polish up your CV. These are just from my own personal experience that I would say these are the things I've done to grow in M&E. I connect a lot with people. I try to know the area in the M&E process that is my area, and I try to stay in that my area of strength while I learn in the other areas where I think I'm not necessarily strong in. And of course, we have the internet. I think this generation is, highly blessed. You have tools that you can check up. If you're having difficulties with indicators, there are places you can check out and look at for indicators. Right now, I even feel that a lot of things are becoming easier because even the donors, they are being specific with what they want. So for instance, we have what is called the BHA guidelines. The BHA guideline is guideline used by USAID for all their intervention areas. There are indicators there, so it makes it easy. So if I'm doing an intervention maybe in agri, for instance, and of course agri is one of the thematic areas of USAID, it's an USAID project, I just know, this is the evaluation criteria, the BHA guidelines for agriculture. I just go, I look at it, and you see the indicators there, is there. So I just look at those criteria and then I deploy it, right? If you're doing an evaluation, maybe an impact evaluation, you already know the DAC OECD criteria, right? The evaluation criteria. Relevance, effectiveness, efficiency. So you just look at it, what does this mean? And then you deploy it. You say, okay, how am I going to capture this? How am I going to do that? So I think you just need to, please, to grow in the M&E space, because it's a space that is, is rapidly evolving, right? So you need to read. I will encourage you as much as possible, read. And there are resources. In case you are asking, where do I find these resources? There are lots of resources, a lot of them. You can find resources in better evaluation. There, a lot. Maybe those of you who are on this call and you're on the WhatsApp platform, the M&E Sphere platform, will be willing to share links to all these things that I've mentioned. Just if you remind me, I just mentioned, I'll just share those links so that you can take out time you read a lot of content that are available. You see the indicators if you're doing, especially if you're working with, the US, working on the USID funded project. All right. Lastly, I hope I've not taken too much time. All right. So lastly, opportunities and challenges. Yes. For me, let me start with the challenges. I think the major challenge for everyone in Africa, seeing that most of us here are from Africa, is the aspect of the practice of monitoring and evaluation in Africa. It's still not yet where it should be. You would have expected that, both government institutions, private institutions, and non-profit institutions have, functional M&E systems, because that's the way you can track results. You are looking at, you can track progress of the project or whatever it is, and then you can look at results. But unfortunately, that's not necessarily the case. Not that we're not making progress, but that's not the case in many countries in Africa, especially from the government side. So most times when people are doing monitoring and evaluation, it's usually the case of working with development partners, non-profit organizations, as the case may be. And so, yes, that's a challenge. So what it means is that you're not getting a lot of evaluation from government partners. And so there's also that tendency that you have lots of people who are evaluators, but they are more on the non-profit side, and looking out for openings in the non-profit side, and a few is coming out from the government institution, and that should not be the case. So that's a challenge. But I mean, things are changing, not in the pace that we would have expected or would have loved, but at least this is not where M&E is in Africa 5 years ago. In all honesty, things have changed. So you just want to prepare your mind, while the engagement with government is still going on, and while government partners and even private institutions themselves, while we're still looking at their body language and seeing their level of acceptance of monitoring and evaluation, there's still that large group of people who are more on the non-profit side, development partners, bilateral organizations, as the case may be. So that's one of the challenge of the practice of M&E. And so what this means for young and emerging evaluators is that, of course, as you learn your M&E, there are fewer places where you want to practice. Everybody is also looking for non-profit organizations to work with. Of course, even the few local non-profit organizations, the pay may not be as high as that, because, of course, they are not putting premium on the M&E component. And so many of the times, the pay is not as one would expect. So that's the implication of, things like that. So that's the challenge. And then, of course, the opportunity also is in the challenge, because it presents us with the opportunity to begin to, through our various platforms, to amplify the need for, M&E system, especially on the government side, because most of the work we do, especially those working with the nonprofit space, is to create social change, right? And so that's also the work of government too. So if government also, if government has been spending XYZ amount of money, year in, year out on, let's say, for example, maternal health care, how do we justify the money that has been spent? Is there any change? So there's also need for government to begin to take ownership, and responsibility, and begin to, we begin to call the attention for them to conduct proper evaluation of, of these programs and projects that, they are committing resources to. So that's also an opportunity. So as that is happening, as we begin to call the attention, of course, we have this ripple effect. It means that there'll be more evaluation opportunities. It means also that we'll be able to see, the kind of results we hope to see in our communities, especially those that government is doing, and that private institutions or private organizations are working on, and not necessarily relying so much on non-profit and development partners. The other aspect of it that I see an opportunity is technology. Technology is really coming into the M&E space as it is. More tools are being developed to collect data. And so that's also an opportunity, because many of the times some people want to consider themselves data analysts, as data analysts, analyzing data and, reporting, translating those data or interpreting those data into results and forecasting also. So there's also an opportunity in that area too. So the beauty, like I said, if you recall when I was talking about a skill, a software you should learn, it's good to have the software because that way you can also do that. I mean, with technology, you know how to use this technology, you can even do those things independently, deploy these tools, collect this data, and then, carve out, report, happenings. And of course, yes, on the other side of it, which is the storytelling. Yes, this is also a subset of monitoring and evaluation that many people have not really, they've not necessarily, because most times they leave it under communications, under comms, that is comms that does it. But I mean, who produces the data and who analyze and interpret this data? It's actually the evaluators or those in the M&E team. And so storytelling is there. One very good tool I know that Closehouse uses is the use of animations, to tell stories. I think they have what is called the Ever Blues. So these are also emerging areas that we're looking at. These are opportunities that you can also plug yourself into to tell impact stories, using animations as the case may be. So the challenges, especially for young and emerging evaluators, is that and then one other critical challenge, apologies, I just remembered this now. One other critical challenge is that many of the times evaluators, young and emerging evaluators, are looking for opportunities to learn because most of the time in our universities in Africa, in most of Africa, and I think it's also same for most part of the world, you don't have a bachelor's degree in monitoring and evaluation. So what you have it, you can have it as master's program, or, as the case may be. So it's not necessarily at that, level. And so because of that, there are a lot of young people who are looking for opportunities to learn, just to have an idea, to be in a formalized institution. And of course, many young people also want to have a certificate to show that they've gone through some form of monitoring and evaluation training. So these are the challenges, but of course, the opportunities, like I said, is inherent in the challenges. So if more people are looking for opportunities to learn, of course, why not? There are places where you can learn, there are institutions where you can learn. Sometimes it's a bit expensive, especially if you're looking at, university institutions, especially for Africa, it's quite expensive. But then there are also indigenous institutions that are providing these learning opportunities that we want to, plug into. Closehouse also does it with the training in result-based M&E and even tailor-made programs in M&E. So if training is an area, you can consider that. I think I've spoken enough. Let me just hear from you. This is just my own story and what I have practiced so far. I may be wrong. You may think, oh, why not do this? Why not do that? It would be nice to hear from you. So I think this is where I'll pause my presentation. Thank you so much, everyone. Over to you, Godwin.
Wow. I've noticed so many things down myself. Super, super, super insightful presentation. Well done, Joshua. Please let's appreciate him in the chat box. Let's, roll it off for him. Let's give him virtual claps. That was, a webinar on its own that you can actually pay thousands of dollars for. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge and experience with us. Please, let's keep the virtual claps coming through. I mean, that was something, that we'll have to be replaying this recording over and over again to digest all that he has. You don't get this for free anywhere, especially monitoring and evaluation. So please, let's appreciate him. Okay, so right now, we'll just move to the next segment, which is question and answer segment. Maybe from what he has said, or maybe you came here with a question in mind. This will be the time for you to ask your question. If you have anything in mind before, or based on his presentation, you noticed something down, this will be, that segment where you have opportunity to answer to ask your question, and then you get responses. Joshua, a lot of appreciation in the chat box for you. So many people found your presentation valuable and they're appreciating you. Thank you again for that insightful presentation. So if you have any question, please use the chat box. except if it's something you want to voice it out. But if you want to talk about things like you need help on, a project, that may not necessarily be this platform. But if you have any question coming from his presentation, please feel free to ask your question. I'll just go through it and then take them one after the other. Then I'll allow Joshua to answer. Thank you. Fellow is saying very clear and wonderful presentation. Khadija is saying thank you. So Kuzani is raising his hand. Do you want to talk instead or you want to type?
I wanted to talk.
Okay, you have the floor now.
Okay, let me start by thanking Sir Joshua for the wonderful presentation. Myself, I'm in Zimbabwe, but currently I'm based in Uganda. So I have had experiences whereby you are hired as an M&D officer, maybe midway in the project, and when you are in the project, you realize that a lot of things are missing when it regards to tools to do with M&D, and maybe you are near the end of the project and you're supposed to do an analysis or an evaluation. So basically, you would like to know what was the situation was like at baseline, and you don't have that data. And unfortunately, for some organizations, they don't have a budget for M&D and stuff. I think, as you were saying, that's what we are experiencing in Africa. And even if you want to go back to the field and maybe to interact with people who were there at the beginning of the project, you may find that some have left the area and are no longer maybe interested in participating in the project. So I don't know, well, how best can we work towards this in trying to come up with something so summative and at the same time not plagiarizing or not or doing something that is not required to do as evaluators. I think, can you help me to understand the best approach on this? Of course, broadcasting and stuff can work, but I would like to hear your input also.
Okay, thank you for your question. Joshua, I wonder if you want to answer that or I should take the next person.
Okay, let's take the next person since we just have one more hand raised.
Okay, yeah. Ayuba, may I see your hand raised? Do you want to unmute? Hello, Ayuba, if you're speaking, I am struggling to hear you.
Okay, Semba is not a question, just a few comments, if that is fine.
Okay, please go ahead with your comment.
All right. So, Joshua, thank you for that wonderful presentation. God bless you, bro. So, just to add to you were one or two testimonies from, you have said a lot of things. I just want to talk on three aspects. The first one, which is our CV. You know, I started getting big shots and position in MIE when I knew what to do about my CV. Let me say I was lucky because I just got connected to somebody who offered to put me on how to work on my CV. I think when I share my CV for any role or any position, I think, oh wow, I would like to just let's take note of that. Really want to have mentorship. I presented myself for a lot of mentorship programs, connecting with people. It's very interesting. I met one of my mentees today in New in one of the meetings. And it's so interesting. Last year, myself and him had to contest for a particular position. So he got the position, and then I got mine, and then we still have to collaborate together. Okay. So that's the kind of opportunity.
I think your line is breaking off. I don't know if it's from my end.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I can hear you, but it's like your voice is very far. I wish maybe you'd be closer to the microphone so that we can hear you properly.
I did a lot of volunteering
Okay.
when I was building myself up in monitoring and evaluation, and that's really let me just summarize it. Thank you.
So I
Okay.
think he's done speaking.
No, I got his last statement.
Okay, you can go ahead.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Ayobami. Yeah, like I think he was just trying to emphasize the fact that, you know, volunteering and internship also plays a very important role, you know, creating that opportunity for you to learn and to grow. That was the last things, you know, he said. For Kuznanai, permit Rushiri or Rushiri. Yes, yes, many of the times it happens. You were talking about the fact that you join as an M&E staff in an organization, and then you meet a project that perhaps there are inadequate data for you to, you know, carry out evaluations. Even when you ask for baseline was not conducted. And so you are just basically asking, how do you deal with the situation in such a manner that you're still professional and you don't want to is it lie or do something unprofessional? If I got your question. Yes, so many of the times this kind of things happens, and it's also sadly the reality. But then it's not something that we should be too sad about. Why I said so is because, firstly, that this organization has decided to employ an M&E officer means that they now see something that they are not doing right, that they want to start doing right. And so it's important for us to at least appreciate the fact that, oh, now they are thinking of setting up M&E systems to track the results that they want to see and the changes they want to see. So that's the first, that would be my first approach to it. Then the other side is to now say, okay, how do we fix this problem? And thankfully, even in M&E, there are approaches for you that you can use, methodologies that you can use to get these things done, to track results, even when they seem not to be sufficient data on your part that you can use to look at. Maybe, for instance, let me just use this as an example. Let's say a training program was conducted, and you want to, you want to track if that knowledge was, well disseminated and the impact of that knowledge on the people. Ideally, as an evaluator, you know that in conducting such kind of things, you need to do a pre-test before the treatment, right? And then a post-test after the treatment has been given. You understand what I mean by treatment? Treatment is the knowledge itself. So that way you can see, the impact of that training on the people. So if there are a lot of methodology you can use. Number one is something like outcome harvesting. You can try to do outcome harvesting. You can try to do contribution to change. So there's a method called contribution to change, and there's another method called outcome harvesting. So not to go detail, because I know this is not the purpose for this meeting, but just to tell you that there are methodologies that exist. So for instance, outcome harvesting is looking at, okay, yeah, it's like looking backward, walking backward from where you are, walking backward gradually to say, okay, what happened before this? What happened before this? Can we say that this activity translated into this result? That kind of thing. And then contribution to change is that you're looking at, okay, this training that was done, this activity that was carried out, can we say that this is what contributed to this change that we are seeing? So, I mean, there are tools for this, right? But what I'm just trying to tell you is that, yes, technically speaking and professionally speaking, these methodologies and approaches exist in M&E that you can either walk backward as a backward thinking approach to see, okay, what are the results that has been recorded, and how can we translate, and how can we justify that the activities that this organization conducted is actually what translated into the results that we're seeing. There are approaches for it. So it's more of like, I like the fact that you raised this question. So what the next step will be is to say, okay, maybe now that you find yourself in such kind of situation, now you need to reach out And that's exactly what you have done. So what you can now do is to just do a little research about what these approaches are, and see which of them is better suited for that intervention that your organization is doing, and how you're going to tweak it to suit, because you also have to look at the suitability of it. It's not copy and paste. Not all are copy and paste. Some you have to copy it, right? And what we say, paste special. That means you have to customize that approach so that it will suit that intervention that your organization is doing. Maybe later afterwards, maybe on the WhatsApp group, we can have a personal conversation on this, and then I can walk you through. But for the purpose of answering your question, yes, the approaches and methods that you can deploy to still track results, even though you don't have those necessary documents and information as at the time when you join the organization. I hope it helps.
Yeah, thank you so much for the enlightenment. I think currently we've been trying to do outcomes-based. Unfortunately, for some situations, we don't have the control group, so we'll be just working with the experiment group. But I thank you for the insights. I think I'll work on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. So we're still taking questions at this moment. If you have anything you need clarity on, perhaps from his presentation, or you have something that you need before now, you had wanted to, get clarity on, feel free to ask in the chat box. And if you want to talk, we are happy to have you on mute and then ask your question directly. So while we are waiting for other people to, maybe perhaps put their thoughts together on questions they want to answer, I also have a question, Mr. Joshua. When I was reading your profile, I was blown away by the number of tools that you can use. I mean, for anyone who is in monitoring evaluation, or anyone who actually work with data, you can address, the challenges and the difficulty of learning even one tool. And sometimes you take all these courses, you struggle with it to, progress from just being a basic or an intermediate user to advanced. And for you mastering all of those tools, I wonder how it was for you and what lessons you can share for anyone who wants to, get technical skills in monitoring evaluation.
Yes. Yes, for the technical skills, yes, thank you so much for the question. I will say, I will not say that, I will say that I don't have expertise in all, right? I don't have expertise in all, but I know how to use these tools that are on my CV. I know how to use them. Now, so I think I will equate these, just as you have asked, with my personal experience learning a foreign language. For those of you who are here, I've mentioned it before, I taught myself how to speak French. So I think somebody joined us from Cameroon. I think Cameroon is bilingual. I can speak French. I think I can communicate in French. Je peux communiquer en français. And so, but French was not the first language I learned. It was Portuguese. So, I mean, this is Nigeria. So the average Nigerian you see on the street, if you ask a Nigerian, can you say something in French? He's likely going to say bonjour. He's likely going to say au revoir. He's likely going to say ça va. That's because Nigeria is surrounded by Francophone countries. So at least an average Nigerian know these things. But if you ask an average Nigerian, please, can you say something in Portuguese language? Godwin, I'm asking you this question. What will be the word you will say in Portuguese? Do you know any word in Portuguese? Right? So that's how it was for me. So when I learned Portuguese and I could speak Portuguese, then I felt like I had French, I'm like, come. It's like there are a lot of similarities. For instance, livro is book in Portuguese, live, right? And so live is in French. So, there are a lot of similarities. Then I now moved. Now, I'm using this example to explain something. And then that's how I also found myself learning Spanish. That is how I found myself. I felt, oh, I need to sit in a Chinese class. I actually took a Chinese course, basic Chinese course. This is the same way, same approach I use for these tools. That's the point I'm trying to communicate, right? That many of these tools have the same principles, right? The same principles. How you enter data, what kind of data it is, how you enter them. What is a nominal data? What is a string data? The principles are generally the same. It doesn't matter whether you're using SPSS or whether you're using Starter. The principles generally are the same. Just like also the data collection tool, right? Even if I set what is it called, Kobo Collect to you now, right? There are tools that somehow you know how to navigate them. Before you know, you're already building a questionnaire out of it. Maybe the other aspect where you may need some technical guidance would be in terms of certain technicalities like skip logic, encoding some kind of, responses, those kind of things. So that's it. But generally, all these tools have like a central guiding principle. And so it's something that when you pick one, it will give you, that one you've learned will give you an idea for the next. And when you pick that one, it will give you the idea for the next. And so to answer your question, that is the same logic that I'm using so far for all these tools. Yes, there are some that you'll be more comfortable. I mean, there are some tools that you're more comfortable working with, and there are those that you know them because you've played around with them.
Okay, thank you for that response. That was very clear, especially connecting with the knowledge of language and how we communicate in our daily life. Very well understood. So if there's anyone with a question, please feel free to let us have your question in the chat box. And if you prefer to unmute and speak, please go ahead so that we can make the good use of the remaining time we have.
Godwin?
Yes.
Yeah,
go ahead, please.
Yes, this is Joseph. I think I have no questions, but I'm just appreciating Joshua on the presentations that he has taken us through. So that was really, really very amazing. And we wish some of us who have actually, a high background of M&E can take it up and try at least to do something in future. Thank you so much, Joshua. And maybe some of us who are in the chat who are joining today may be, having a bilateral chat with you to understand more and more. I understand M&E is very complex, and sometimes you find yourself doing M&E, but at a certain point you don't know exactly whether you're actually involved in M&E. So I really appreciate your inside presentations. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Eleki. Thank you for acknowledging the valuable presentation from our facilitator, Mr. Joshua. So I'm checking through the chat box now if there's any message or question. Okay, so I can see there's no question, so I assume the presentation was well understood. And of course, remember that the conversation is ongoing. I mean, monitoring and evaluation is not something we can discuss in 2 hours, not even in a day. So the conversation keep going, and like Joshua mentioned, access to mentorship is one of the cardinal points of growth in monitoring evaluation. You can leverage on that. He's on the WhatsApp platform. You can reach him out. You can reach out to him, and you can also connect with him on LinkedIn for more support and clarity if you need anything. So next step from here. Okay, let me see. I have a message. Okay, wonderful presentation coming from David. David, thank you for acknowledging and appreciating our facilitator. So from here, what is the next step? Earlier on, I saw a message from someone who was saying he's not part of the group. So Emma is here. Okay, I see a hand up. If do you have a question or you have some remarks to make?
Hello, can you? All right. Good evening, everyone from here. I really want to appreciate the organizers for creating this platform to educate us on M&E. And the question I just want to ask, I hope we'll have more of this coming up, because this has been really educative. And like he earlier mentioned, M&E, you have to, unless you have a professional course that gives you a certificate on M&E, we don't have it as a course in institution that is being subsidized at a subsidized rate. But thank God for this platform that is coming up now. So I wish that we could have more of this coming up so that people can be enlightened, and then we would know specifically where to pitch our tents on, because M&E is really, really, really wide. It's really wide. Thanks a lot.
You're most welcome, Ife, and I'm glad that you find this, presentation or today's session valuable. And of course, we hope to continue in this, guys. I was just about to talk on the next steps. So M&E Sphere, for some of you who are part of the group, is a platform, that is dedicated to advancing monitoring and evaluation practice through knowledge sharing. So it's made up of individuals who are actually practicing M&E. Some of them are actually enthusiasts or people who are looking to transition. So we hope that every month we'll be having this kind of session to, just educate and empower ourselves. The essence of doing all of this is because nobody has ever achieved anything significant alone, giving his life, giving his, a way to grow. Imagine all of the things that our facilitator has talked about. It's a way of reminding him of the things he know. So in the M&E Sphere community, we'll be doing this from time to time. And you're also welcome to join if you're not part of the group. And just to mention, our next session is going to be on the use of Power BI. I forgot that the BI. Power BI will have someone who is a member of the community that has agreed to take us on the session. So it is open, it's free, and feel free to talk to your friends about it. And if you know anyone who is interested in monitoring and evaluation, or even you yourself, if you have any knowledge or any tool you want to teach us, feel free to reach out so that we can schedule a session for you to share your knowledge with us. Right, so don't hide it. If you know anything, don't think that what you know, everybody knows it. Knowledge is still, varies. Knowledge varies from individual to individual. So if you know Power BI, you know Excel more than the rest of us, please feel free to reach out to us, and then we can schedule a session. Okay, Rebecca is asking, how can I join the group? Okay, so before we go, I'll share the link, or if anyone, I shared it earlier, if anyone can still locate it, please share it in the chat box so that Rebecca can join. Okay, thank you, Kuzani. I hope I'm getting your name correctly. So I've talked about on the next session on Power BI. Afterward, we'll still be organizing holding sessions, and of course, you also can be part of it if you have anything you want to teach us. So for today's session, it's been an amazing time we've spent. Thank you everyone for joining. So many people were on the call from the beginning to this point. It's not something we take lightly. And I want to say thank you again. We can't thank our facilitator enough. For someone who is into monitoring evaluation, that they are always busy. Hardly would they have time, but dedicating 2 hours of his time to be here to teach us and to share his experience with us for free. We just want to say thank you, Mr. Joshua. We are grateful. And to every member of the M&E Sphere community, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for, reaching out to one another on the platform to render help and to also, provide the clarity. Together, we are achieving the aim of the platform. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited seeing that this is happening. I hope that we keep on with this space. Thank you so much, Rachel. You're welcome. Thank you for making our time to be here. Thank you so much. And if there's nothing more from anyone, we can then bring this session to a close. Joshua, do you have any final thoughts?
I just want to say thank you so much, everyone. M&E is a journey that I think is worthwhile. If you are still doubting whether to make that leap, I think you are in a safe space. Take that leap. There's nothing to fear. You have a lot of people around you who are already, doing who are already practicing in this space, and you have a lot to learn from them. So don't be afraid. Just take that leap of faith and begin to learn and begin to grow. In 5 years from now, I'm sure that when you look back, you will not regret. You'll be happy you took the decision in joining in M&E. Also to say thank you so much, Godwin, for putting this together. I'm also grateful. Please feel free. Let's interact. Let's talk. And to the best of our abilities, I'll be willing to support. And I know that there are also other M&E specialists in that WhatsApp group. I know some of them personally. There are some that are on this call that I'm seeing. I just don't want to put them on the spot, but they'll be willing to assist. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Joshua. Just to mention that this call is being recorded. After now, if you still need to revert back to me, just let me know. And again, let's engage on the platform. I'm happy to inform that there are so many people on that platform, over 200 people. And the beauty is that they are from different regions with varying years of experience, people from the UN, people from, just different platform, different organization, all in one place. So it's a platform you can benefit from it if you're strategic. So let's not just be on the group and be silent. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the day. If it's afternoon or evening or morning at your zone or at your region, I wish you all the very best and bye from here.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Have a lovely evening.
Precious, thank you for joining the call. Thank you, Ifeanyi, for staying through to the end. Thank you, Mustafa, for joining the call and for staying to the end.